Smashing hits bring fame and money overnight, but what happens when it's your sole legacy? From soulful ballads to surf rock anthems, here are the top 15 cheesiest hits of the swinging 60s that left their artist forever chasing the glory. Number 15, Bruce Chanel, Hey Baby. Say what you will about the baby boomers, but if there's one thing they enjoyed, it's got to be iconic rock songs. Hundreds, if not thousands, of iconic hits made waves, and one of them that stood out was Bruce Chanel, Hey Baby. With its infectious harmonica riff and lighthearted lyrics, the upbeat rock song captured the hearts of audiences in 1961 and skyrocketed Bruce Chanel to fame the following year. And why wouldn't it? It broke through the Billboard Hot 100 and scored number 1. Sadly for Chanel, Texas's very own staple, lightning struck only once. He released several tracks after Hey Baby, but none came close to replicating the widespread appeal of his signature tune. Despite his decline though, Hey Baby had an enduring impact. Delbert McClinton, who toured with Chanel, caught the attention of a young, then unknown band from Liverpool, you guessed it, the Beatles. During a 1962 tour in the UK, McClinton shared harmonica tips with John Lennon. These lessons bore fruit immediately as Lennon incorporated the instrument into early Beatles hits like Love Me Do and Please Please Me. And guess what? Lennon's admiration for the song didn't stop there. It was even included in his personal playlist, a collection of tracks that reflected his musical inspirations. Beyond the 1960s, Hey Baby had a memorable resurgence when it was featured in the 1987 classic Dirty Dancing. In a charming scene, Johnny and Baby balance on a log while dancing to Chanel's toe-tapping hit. If that's not cementing its place in cinematic history, how about sports and pop culture? Darts player Tony O'Shea uses it as his walk-on song, and Team Canada adopted it as their goal anthem during the 2018 World Junior Ice Hockey Championships. The track became a staple of the tournament and was played a whopping 39 times as the Canadian juniors lit up the scoreboard. Though Bruce Chanel's career is sadly summed up by this single hit, Hey Baby, I'm sure he's pleased knowing his Mona Lisa is still cherished and vogued today. The same can be said for our next song. Number 14, The Chantays, Pipeline. Ladies and gentlemen, there are two key takeaways from the story of the Chantays. First, fame can strike at any age, and second, it doesn't always stick around. This surf rock band made waves, quite literally, in 1963 with their iconic instrumental hit Pipeline from Miraculous Beginnings. Formed by 5 high school friends from Santa Ana High, the Chantays struck gold when 2 of its members, Bob Spicard and Brian Carmen, wrote Pipeline in 1963 while still in their senior year. It was inspired by the 1962 film The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance and was called Liberty's Whip at first. It wasn't until after seeing footage of the Bonsai Pipeline in Hawaii that the band decided to change the name to Pipeline, an excellent decision in my books. As opposed to Liberty's Whip, Pipeline better captured the thrill of the surfing culture that was sweeping the nation at the time. Plus, wouldn't you say it rolls better off the tongue? Pipeline hit number 4 on the Billboard pop charts, not only becoming an instant classic, but also securing its place as one of the most iconic surf rock songs of the 1960s. One thing I love about the song, though, is its refreshing feel. Unlike the archetypal rock and roll hits of the 1960s, Pipeline's arrangement was upside down, with the bass guitar, electric piano, and rhythm guitar taking center stage, while the lead guitar and drums played supporting roles. As simple as it sounds on paper, this unique mix set it apart from other rock songs and helped establish the distinctive surf rock sound. Chef's kiss. Alas, the Chantays wouldn't be on our list had they gained success after Pipeline. The band produced numerous other surf tunes, but none was able to reach the success of Pipeline, making it Chantays' sole major hit. That being said, Pipeline miraculously endured its creator's decline. The original recording, which was released as a 45 RPM single, was later reissued in stereophonic sound, bringing out the full effect of the track's layered instrumentation. And over the years, the song itself has remained a landmark in the genre, influencing countless bands and artists. In 1997, for instance, Chantays revisited their classic tune with an acoustic version, Pipeline Unplugged, on their album Waiting for the Tide. The song also continued to make waves in popular culture, including being used as background music for the BBC's Match of the Day Goal of the Month competition and becoming the entrance music for the Edmonton Oilers ice hockey team during the 1980s and 90s. The choice was a fitting one, as the name Pipeline became a pun on the oil industry, perfectly aligning with the team's identity. Number 13, The Contours' Do You Love Me? When Motown legend Berry Gordy penned Do You Love Me in early 1962, he envisioned it as a perfect match for the young and promising group, The Temptations. But there was one problem. The Temptations were nowhere to be found. Unwilling to let the song gather dust, Gordy turned to another Motown group already in the studio, The Contours. Little did he know what came next. Pure musical magic that etched the group's legacy in the history books, even if just for one unforgettable hit. Everything about the song was perfect, even from the get-go. Remember the line, "You broke my heart because I couldn't dance"? The opening words alone set the stage for a song that choke-held the spirit of 1960s dance crazes. Combining shout-outs to popular movies like The Twist and The Mashed Potato, Do You Love Me continued the best of both worlds to mash up an irresistible call to the dance floor. Sure, the track only peaked at number 3 on the Billboard charts, but who cares? It was a nationwide sensation and the life of any party. It's just sad that the Contours were unable to replicate the success of their smash hit. Do You Love Me was their sole entry into the Billboard Top 10. But hey, the story doesn't end there. Not even close. The song found a second life in 1988 when it was featured on the Dirty Dancing soundtrack, a movie that introduced it to a whole new generation. It also climbed the charts yet again, proving its timeless appeal. Beyond its Dirty Dancing resurgence, though, Do You Love Me has popped up in numerous movies and TV shows, including Steven Spielberg's Tiny Toons Adventures, where its infectious energy made waves again. So there you have it. Though the Contours may have been a one-hit wonder, they still left a big mark on pop culture. Do You Love Me isn't just a song. It's a time machine back to the golden era of Motown, an enduring anthem for dancers and music lovers everywhere. You don't believe me? Listen to the song yourself. You'll be dancing on your feet right from the opening line. Number 12, Norman Greenbaum, Spirit in the Sky. Guys, if you thought the Chantays or the Contours had a rather unconventional start to their journey to fame, wait till you hear the story of Norman Greenbaum. You see, back in the late 1960s, Greenbaum was just part of Dr. West's medicine show and a sort of psychedelic jug band called Junk Band that struggled to break through despite being opportuned to open for icons Sonny and Cher. Inspired by a Porter Wagoner gospel tune, Greenbaum decided to venture into unfamiliar territory and write his own gospel-adjacent song called Spirit in the Sky. But here's where things get interesting. Would you believe it took Greenbaum only 15 minutes to pen the entire song? Yes, you heard that right. He wrote a genre-bending track that fused rock with gospel elements before his neighbors could finish making brunch. Released in 1969, Spirit in the Sky was an instant success that skyrocketed to number 3 on the Billboard charts. Its gritty guitar riffs, powerful gospel harmonies, and themes of hope and salvation not only captivated listeners, but had them replaying it over and over. Would you even blame them? The track felt like nothing anyone had heard before, a spiritual anthem wrapped in a rock and roll package. What a genius! In any case, in spite of the meteoric rise of Spirit in the Sky, Greenbaum's career didn't follow the same trajectory. He struggled to replicate its success and eventually stepped away from the spotlight. By the late 1980s, he was living a quiet life as a cook in Northern California. But don't you dare say it was the end. The enduring allure of Spirit in the Sky gave Greenbaum a second chance. The song became a licensing juggernaut and appeared in countless movies, TV shows, and commercials. Its unique sound and uplifting message made it a go-to choice for soundtracks, from Guardians of the Galaxy to Apollo 13. Looking back, Norman Greenbaum proves that innovators sometimes can only make waves once. His masterpiece hit was a perfect blend of different genres, but he himself was a one-hit wonder. Keep Keep your eyes and ears peeled for the next one, guys. It's a hit you fondly remember. Number 11. Steam, Na Na Hey Hey Kiss Him Goodbye. Ah yes, Na Na Hey Hey Kiss Him Goodbye, the iconic song that most people sadly attribute its legacy to the sports film Remember the Titans. Ever heard the epic coming-of-age story attached to the song? Released in 1969, the track was produced and recorded by a group called Steam, but ironically, there wasn't a full band behind it at the time. In fact, when the song was initially recorded, it wasn't even meant to be a hit. Here is what really happened. Remember Gary DiCarlo? Yes? Perfect. Well, the track was originally created as a B-side for the singer, but he wasn't feeling it. He had no intention of making waves with the song. This rather surprising turn of events led to the rise of a group of session musicians with no name, no band, and no long-term ambitions. The end game? Recording a track to feature in the buzzing film. However, as fate would have it, the universe had more for this ghost group, who landed upon their identity in the most unexpected way. Glancing out of the studio window, they noticed steam rising from the nearby manhole covers. That simple observation was enough to spark an idea. They decided to call themselves Steam, despite having no permanent lineup or future plans. What happened next was pure magic. Na Na Hey Hey Kiss Him Goodbye quickly became a massive hit, soaring to number 1 on the Billboard charts. The track's catchy chorus, infectious melody, and emotional breakup theme made it a favorite of listeners, and the success was entirely unexpected. The producers, eager to capitalize on the success, quickly assembled a full band and planned a tour. However, despite the initial success, Steam couldn't maintain their momentum. They never had another hit, and the band faded into obscurity soon after. Could it have been due to the fact that they weren't supposed to exist in the first place? I'll leave you to answer that. Nevertheless, Na Na Hey Hey Kiss Him Goodbye lives on. The song has been covered by several artists, including British girl group Bananarama, and has become an anthem at sporting events, particularly for the Chicago White Sox, who used it to taunt opponents during blowout victories. So you see, there's almost always a silver lining. Steam may have lacked permanence, but its impact was anything but temporary. Sometimes, all it takes to become a staple in pop culture, sports arenas, and movie soundtracks is fate, a name, and a lucky moment. Go figure. Number 10. Iron Butterfly, In-a-gadda-da-vida. Often credited as one of the earliest heavy metal hits, Iron Butterfly's In-a-gadda-da-vida is a 17-minute epic that set a standard for what the entire genre could sound like. The lyrics, while minimal, are a poetic love song from Adam to Eve, and from its hypnotic organ to loud pounding drums and a gritty guitar riff, the track feels both otherworldly and raw. But hey, the true heart of the track lies in its amazing instrumental sections, including a 2.5-minute drum solo by Ron Bushy that became legendary in its own right. Released way back in 1968, the song's extended version filled the entire second side of Iron Butterfly's album of the same name, which went on to sell over 30 million copies and peaked at number 4 on the Billboard album chart. Can you imagine how crazy that must have been in the 1960s when the internet wasn't even a thing? Iron Butterfly really outdid themselves on that one. Though the full version of the song became a cult classic, a shortened version then hit the airwaves and climbed to number 30 on the Billboard Hot 100. Cashbox described it as having a pounding rhythm, backing, and hypnotic chord structures, whatever that means. But for all of the song's success, the best part is actually its origin. According to drummer Ron Bushy, the song was conceived one night when vocalist and organist Dud Ingle downed an entire gallon of Red Mountain wine. Ingle played his new creation for Bushy, but his slurred words turned the intended title, In the Garden of Eden, into the now iconic In-a-gadda-da-vida. Bushy wrote it down exactly as he heard it, and, well, the rest became history. Sadly, not even Iron Butterfly could fill the big boots they once wore. They made a couple of songs after In-a-gadda-da-vida, but were unable to match their peak. Still, the song remains a pop culture touchstone, famously appearing in an episode of The Simpsons under its original unslurred title. It also influenced the emerging heavy metal genre of the era. In 2009, it was named the 24th greatest hard rock song of all time by VH1. Number 9. Bobby Boris Pickett, Monster Mash. Every Halloween season, there's one song that rises from the grade to dominate playlists everywhere, and, well, Bobby Pickett's Monster Mash is one of them. Released in 1962, this eerie, spooky anthem has become one of the greatest Halloween hits of all time, a bold indication of how it's been able to stand the test of time. But hey, what if I told you Pickett wasn't originally a musician? Yep, he was actually an aspiring actor. While performing with his band The Cordials, Pickett began making impressions of horror film icon Boris Karloff, much to the amusement of his roaring fans. With encouragement by friends to take his impersonation further, Pickett wrote a song about a monstrous dance party with an extra twist. The entire jam was narrated in a Karloff-inspired voice and released moments before Halloween. In what world wouldn't it have succeeded? The song's catchy melody, quirky lyrics, and over-the-top sound effects not only personified the spirit of Halloween, but also made Monster Mash an instant classic. It peaked at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Critics praised its fun, campy charm, and audiences couldn't get enough of Pickett's delightfully spooky performance. However, despite the song's massive success, Pickett never managed to replicate its popularity. He leaned into his monster-themed persona, releasing follow-up tracks like Monster Holiday, Me and My Mummy, and even Monster Rap, but none came close to the original. Perhaps it's true what they say, lightning never strikes in the same spot twice. Monster Mash is still a Halloween fixture even decades later, but Bobby Pickett's catalog as a whole leaves plenty to be desired. Coming next is the quintessential 1960s surf rock anthem. Number 8. The Surfaris, Wipeout. Let's be real, guys. Only a few songs scream summer quite like Wipeout. The high-energy instrumental, with its iconic drum solo and unmistakable opening laugh, made baby boomers go crazy. But hey, what if I told you this 1963 rock anthem started from one big accident? You see, just like the Chantays, the Surfaris were a group of musical high school buddies. While recording Surfer Joe in the studio, the group realized they needed a B-side to round out the song. On the spot, they created Wipeout, which was inspired by their marching band cadence, but with the tempo pushed up to exciting levels. The band even included the now famous insane laugh and the cry, "Wipeout!" as a lighthearted tribute to surfing wipeouts. Little did they know that what started as a last-minute addition became an unexpected sensation. Wipeout soared to number 2 on the charts, holding its position for an impressive 30 weeks. Its furious drum solo, performed by Ron Wilson, became a hallmark of the surf rock genre, influencing countless drummers and musicians. But of course, the Surfaris wouldn't be in today's video if they didn't conform to the theme. Though Wipeout made the Surfaris a household name, they struggled to replicate its massive success and eventually disbanded in 1966. Still, the song remains an enduring hit and has been featured in iconic films like Dirty Dancing, The Sandlot, and Toy Story 2. Though it's impossible to pinpoint exactly why Wipeout is such a timeless song, I cannot help but think it's due to its carefree summer fun attitude. Whether you're at the beach or just feeling nostalgic, this surf rock classic captures the mood of sun-soaked adventure. Number 7. The Archies, Sugar Sugar. For decades, fictitious bands were taught that achieving a global sensation was difficult, if not impossible. But in 1969, the Archies dared to dream. They dared to show that even cartoons could top the charts. Created for the animated TV show based on Archie comics, the bubblegum pop hit Sugar Sugar was simply revolutionary. It not only cemented its status as one of the most successful songs of all time, but it also demonstrated that anything was possible. But contrary to what you might think, things weren't always smooth sailing. Starting on a bed of rocks, Sugar Sugar was initially met with skepticism due to its cartoon origins. Worse, music executives feared that DJs and audiences wouldn't even take the song seriously. To remedy this, producers removed the group's name from early pressings of the single and promoted it as a track from a mystery band. Did it work, though? Of course! The clever marketing ploy went perfectly, and soon the irresistibly sweet tune was everywhere. Sugar Sugar shot to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, holding the spot for 4 weeks, and also topped the UK singles chart for an impressive 8 weeks. But guess what? Apart from becoming the biggest hit of 1969 in both America and the United Kingdom, Sugar Sugar became the most successful bubblegum pop single of all time. In fact, it's still widely regarded as the apotheosis of late 1960s, early 1970s bubblegum music genre. Though the Archies never achieved similar success with their follow-ups, Sugar Sugar remains one of the most nostalgic gems of the 1960s. Its infectious melody and cheerful lyrics have been featured in popular shows like The Wonder Years and The Simpsons, and frankly speaking, there's no indication that its sugary sweetness wouldn't stop charming younger generations. It's a revolution. It's unstoppable. It's proof that even a cartoon band can be part of history. Number 6. The Human Beans. Nobody But Me. If repetition is an art form, then the Human Beans perfected it with their 1968 hit, Nobody But Me. Hailed as the most repetitious Billboard Top 100 song ever recorded, the word no was repeated over 100 times, including a whopping 31 times in a row. It's an earworm in the truest sense, a song that revels in its eccentricity while carving out a permanent spot in music history. But hey, for all of the song's success, Human Beings' ascent to fame began with a few missteps, including a misspelt record contract that dropped the G in their name. After 3 so-so singles of covers on smaller labels, Capitol Records eventually signed the band, and in the summer of 1967, they entered the studio to record their debut album. Curious to know how it all played out? Well, at first, the band moved to cover Willie Cobb's You Don't Love Me, but when that failed, they switched to Nobody But Me by the Isley Brothers. But here's the thing. Their version replaced the original dances, the jerk and the twist, with a more contemporary boogaloo and shing-a-ling, giving it a modern edge. The result? A hit so good that it peaked at number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100. Triggered by their newfound success, the band made subsequent efforts to strike gold, but they never fared well. Their second single, Turn On Your Love Light, barely cracked the charts at number 80, and their album peaked at number 65 before quickly fading. By 1969, the Human Beings had disbanded, with their moment in the spotlight being a distant memory. Despite their brief career, Nobody But Me remains an untouchable piece for its loyalists. The unapologetic repetition and infectious energy surprisingly worked wonders and permanently etched Human Beings and their place in pop culture history. Who would have guessed the word no was so powerful? Number 5. The Flying Machine, Smile a Little Smile for Me. Can we all admit that the Flying Machine's debut was a breath of fresh air? Released in 1969, Smile a Little Smile for Me was the premier single of The Flying Machine, a British pop group that took the world by storm. Written by the powerhouse duo Jeff Stevens and Tony McCauley, the song is a bittersweet tune that perfectly captures the tender optimism of late 60s pop. It tells the story of someone comforting Rose Marie and encouraging her to smile through heartbreak, even when things seem bleak. Its soulful melody, combined with heartfelt lyrics, struck a chord with listeners, and success was simply a given. The track soared to number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100, becoming a signature hit and carving the Flying Machine's place in pop history. However, just as we've learned so many times, success doesn't always create a dynasty. Despite having a groundbreaking debut, the Flying Machine struggled to replicate the magic of their first single. Like many one-hit wonders, the band quickly faded from the charts and eventually disbanded. Yet, Smile a Little Smile for Me remains an intimate melody in the souls of its listeners. Only a few songs in the 1960s could really match the warm and soothing message conveyed in Smile a Little Smile for Me. It's a reminder that even in tough times, a little smile can go a long way. A timeless sentiment wrapped in a perfect pop package. Having a good time so far? Of course you are. Why else would you have made it so far? Consider subscribing to the channel and turning on your post notifications so you'll be the first to know whenever we release a new video. It'll cost you nothing other than a few milliseconds of your time. Number 4. Doris Troy, Just One Look. When it comes to proverbial one-hit wonders, only a few come close to Doris Troy's Just One Look, an unforgettable track that lit up the charts while its authors eventually faded into obscurity. Released in 1963, the song showcased Troy's soulful voice and earned her a spot on the US Billboard Hot 100, where it peaked at number 10 and stayed for an impressive 14 weeks. It also soared to number 3 on the Hot R&B Singles charts and claimed the number 1 spot on Canada's CHUM Hit Parade for 3 weeks. Talk about a serial winner. That being said, the path to its release, however, is surrounded by varying accounts. Some say James Brown discovered Troy performing in a nightclub under her original stage name, Doris Payne, and introduced her to Atlantic Records. Sounds plausible, right? Well, the second claim is that Troy recorded a demo of the song and, after being ignored by Sue Records, brought it to Jerry Wexler at Atlantic, where the raw demo was released as the final single. Regardless of how it came to be, the track's simplicity and beauty charmed audiences all around the world, and it was all made possible by the great roster of musicians that produced the behind-the-scenes magic. Ernie Hayes handled the piano, Wally Richardson played guitar, Bob Bushnell was on bass, and Bernard Purdie brought his signature groove to the drums. The single marked the first time Troy performed under her new stage name, though she continued to use her birth name, Doris Payne, for songwriting credits. The success of Just One Look lasted beyond its first release. It was number 70 on Billboard's year-end Top Records of 1963, number 80 on Cashbox's Top 100 Chart Hits of 1963, and number 11 on Billboard's Top R&B Singles for 1963. Despite Just One Look being Troy's lone hit, it was good enough to put her in the spotlight, though she never quite repeated her magic. Number 3. The Standells, Dirty Water. In 1966, the Standells made waves with their raw and rebellious hit Dirty Water, which climbed to number 11 on the charts. As the name suggests, the song had a gritty edge and tongue-in-cheek lyrics about the Charles River and Boston's nightlife. It became a defining anthem for the city of Boston, resonating with its rough-and-tumble charm and, clandestine affairs. But while the hit created a spot for the Standells' place in music history, no matter how fickle, the band struggled to gain momentum after that. Larry Tamblyn, brother of actor Russ Tamblyn, was one of the band's famous members, but even his Hollywood connections were insufficient to propel the band forward. Other tracks, such as Try It, sparked controversy with their provocative delivery and were completely banned in various regions. Still, think all publicity is good, regardless of being negative? Its controversy did not transfer into long-term popularity, as the band's albums suffered from an inconsistent identity exacerbated by repeated lineup changes. Worse, the Standells were often compared to legendary acts like Pink Floyd and the Rolling Stones, comparisons that inevitably cast them in the shadows of these iconic bands. So many things went wrong in such a short period of time, and, well, the band was buried under its weight. The silver lining here is that Dirty Water is still one of the more popular garage rock classics. Decades later, the song continues to thrive as a cultural touchstone for Boston, celebrated at sports games and immortalized in the city's identity. Though it's sad how the Standells imploded, it's child's play compared to our final 2 picks. Number 2. The T-Bones, No Matter What Shape Your Stomach's In. Love it or hate it, T-Bones' No Matter What Shape Your Stomach's In has one of the most unusual coming-of-age stories in pop history. Even the title is quirky. It came from an Alka-Seltzer commercial. Oh, you knew that already. All right then. Did you know the song's catchy melody was initially composed for the ad? Yes, sir, it featured a humorous depiction of various stomach shapes relieved by the antacid. When the jingle proved wildly popular, Liberty Records enlisted a group of session musicians to record a full-length version under the name The T-Bones. These studio pros included future members of successful bands like Bread and the first iteration of the Wrecking Crew. Surprisingly, the upbeat jazzy tune became an instant hit and climbed to number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. Despite the success of the song, though, the T-Bones were essentially a one-hit wonder. The group performing under the name disbanded shortly after the song's success, leaving only its fun and unconventional origins to linger in pop culture history. Think of it as a nostalgic reminder of how advertising and music can collide in unexpected ways. Number 1. The Honeycombs, Have I the Right? The British invasion of the 1960s brought a wave of fresh talent to American shores, and the Honeycombs were among its unique offerings. But for all of its strengths, what really set the Honeycombs apart wasn't just their catchy, upbeat sound. At a time when female musicians were rare in rock bands, Honey Lantry, the group's drummer, shattered stereotypes and became a symbol of empowerment as one of the few female band drummers in the era. With her powerful energy and foot-stomping magic, she propelled the band to amazing heights. Their 1964 hit, Have I the Right?, reached number 5 on the US charts and became their most notable contribution to the era's music scene. Sadly, Honey Lantry and the Honeycombs were unable to replicate the song's impact. The group disbanded just a few years later, leaving behind bittersweet questions of what if? Well, there you have it, 15 of the most cheesy one-hit wonders of the 1960s. From cartoon sensations to soulful ballads and even surf rock anthems, the 1960s was packed with unforgettable hits and, well, one-hit wonders. Did we miss out on some of your favorite one-hit wonders from the 60s? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out the video currently displaying on your screen. See you there!